everyone, and welcome back to my reef tank. Today, as you can see by the title of this video, I am going to be talking about parameters. What parameters I test for, which ones I pay attention to, and what I keep my tanks at. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first item we're going to talk about today, and the one that I check up on almost every day, is going to be temperature. Now, the ideal range, which I pulled these numbers from Live Aquaria, the ideal range is 72 to 78 degrees. I keep both of my tanks between 77 and 78 degrees. I use a neo-therm 50 watt in my 10-gallon tank and a Finnex 150 watt in my 25-gallon tank. Depending on the season, maybe it's summer or it's winter, I will keep an eye on the temperature and adjust the heaters accordingly. But I do try to keep both tanks in that 77 to 78 degree range. The next parameter is specific gravity. Recommended to keep it at 1.023 to 1.025. And I do keep my tanks at about 1.025. Sometimes it might get as low as 1.024, maybe as high as 1.026. It just sort of depends on how I mix my salt water for my water change that week. Again, I do really try to keep it at the same level, and this is something that I pretty much only test on a weekly basis. I do test my tanks before I do my water change and then after I do my water change to make sure that I haven't messed up somewhere during my water change, or I haven't messed up with my top offs during the week. But for the past 4 years, I've been pretty consistent with this number. The next one that I look at is calcium. It's recommended to keep calcium between 350 and 450 parts per million, and I do try to keep my tanks at the top end of that range at 450. Next is alkalinity. That's recommended to keep between 8 and 12. I keep mine at around 10. Again, this is just personal preference. My corals seem to do well when I keep my alkalinity around 10. I do have a mixed reef in my 25-gallon tank with SPS, LPS, and soft coral. So this seems to do well for a majority of what I'm keeping. The last one I pay attention to is magnesium, the recommended range being 1250 to 1350 parts per million, and I do try to keep mine right about that 1300 parts per million. So again, these are just the numbers based on my research on what's ideal, what works well, and what's recommended. Of course, there are a lot of other parameters that you can test for. There's people that check for ammonia constantly, as well as nitrates. There are some trace elements you can test for. Other things that can tell you if or why you're having an algae problem. I really don't know that much about those, which is why I sound like I don't know what I'm talking about, because I only pay attention to these 5 things. This is what has been working for me for the last 4 years, because I have been really good about doing once a week water changes. It doesn't seem to affect my tanks one way or the other, whether or not I am constantly testing for these or other parameters. And because I didn't mention it, these last 3, I only test these when something looks off. I probably test less than every other month with those. Again, specific gravity I do every week during my water change, and temperature is just about every day because I have a thermometer on both of my tanks, so I can constantly monitor those. Now, something else I wanted to touch on, because I mentioned it when talking specifics about the different parameters that I look at, is the fact that for the past 4 years I have been really good about doing weekly water changes, which is a big reason why I don't test a lot and very often. Now, since our move, and like I had mentioned a couple videos ago, because we are on septic and well water, I have not been doing my weekly water changes as religiously as I had been. Because my RODI filter makes 2 gallons of waste for every 1 gallon of clean, usable water, that is a lot of wastewater. If I make 15 gallons of water a week, that means I'm dumping 30 gallons of water every week down the drain, in addition to the 10 gallons that I get of old salt water out of my tanks. So my husband and I decided that I am not going to be doing weekly water changes anymore. Instead, I am going to be testing more, and I'm going to start dosing. I will still make RODI water for my top-offs, which is about 4 gallons a week, and then the approximately 10 gallons of water I need once a month for a water change. If anyone has an interest in how I do my dosing, that is a video that I can do for another day, but I just wanted to touch on that really quickly. I did want to show you guys really quickly the test kit that I use for calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium, and that is the Red Sea Foundation Pro multi-test kit. I find it really easy to use, as well as decently priced compared to other test kits out there. Because I am going to start dosing, if you guys have any suggestions on what other elements or test kits I should be testing for, that would be a great help. Just leave me a comment down below. Of course, if you have any other comments or suggestions, leave those as well. I hope you guys like this video and decide to subscribe and see what else I have in store for my fish tanks. I'll see you guys next time.